Hello, good evening, brothers. How is everybody tonight? We're here to look at army lists, as we do like every Sunday night, right? Let me just make sure I get my chat up on the screen. Uh, Exo's in the house, Killer's in the house. What's happening, guys? How is everybody tonight? Cool. Um, yeah, 19th of February. The year is going past quick, isn't it? Good evening, Daniel. Good evening, Mike. Good evening, James. Hello, hello. We've got I was going to say, I think we've got about 6 army lists to do tonight. We're doing about 6 every week. We've got Chris, we've got Dan Newt, we've got Joel, we've got Killer, we've got Nucking, and we've got Steve West. If you want to submit a list, you can do that over in the community tab on the Blood Angels Commander YouTube channel. If you're not super familiar where that is, go to Blood Angels Commander YouTube channel, which should look something like this. Hit community, and in the latest community thread, post your list, and I'll find it here. And I did this poll a few days ago. Actually, I didn't really realize that there had been so many votes on it. 517 people said that the Arcs of Omen season was amazing. 70% said it was okay. 20% said they didn't like this season. So, I guess 4 and 5 people thought this season was good. Which is surprising because this season feels wacky to me. I guess it feels good in that you can use units that you've never been able to use before. That part of it feels good. It does feel a bit wacky. Hello, Sang. Good evening. Hello, Andrew. How you doing? So that's where we are. Army lists. I actually wanted to check my Discord because I was talking to someone last night about my army list. Let me see if they replied. I don't think so. I don't think so. Oh, maybe. Okay. So I might have a bonus list to look at the end. All right. Let's make a start. The first list is by Chris 1315, and this is a list he's playing around with. I've still got to buy my 3rd Death Company squad, a Librarian of Whirlwind. It's a generic list to take on the local meta. And generally, he's playing Tempest of War. Good evening, John. Alright, so he's still running Dante with Heroic Bearing and the Warlord trait. I guess he should have said that you got +1 CP from this. He's got Librarian with Might of Heroes, Null Zone, and Psychic Fortress. 4 Sword Combi Melt and Jump Pack, cool. Sanguinary Priest with... Oh, this is a Legend Sanguinary Priest. This is not valid for competitive play, but maybe people let you run it in Tempest of War. The Sanguinary Priest can't take a Combi Melta. And he definitely can't take a Thunderhammer. Maybe those options will come back. He used to be able to take that stuff. But at the moment, in competitive play, the Sanguinary Priest can have a bolt pistol and a chain sword, and they removed all the other weapon options. I was really sad when they removed all the other weapon options, because I'd actually just bought and converted a Sanguinary Priest. My one had, I think, a power sword and a Stormbolter, and then they removed that. Strike for Augustus time. I'm not getting it. I'm going to do an extra video on Strike Force Augustus. I'll do that this week, Robert. I recently lost against Custodes with rerolls and in Vuns, I'm guessing. Any tips? Got 2 Sangard. I've got Librarian with Null and Veil. I've got Priest with Selfless. I've got Hellblasters. VVGs and Terminators. What's VVGs? Sorry. Vanguard Vets? Yeah, I mean, I guess you just maybe... I think... Custodes are really good. If they have the ability to turn off rerolls, that really hurts Blood Angels. They obviously can deny powers like Null Zone, which also really hurts Blood Angels. They also have a lot of 2 damage stuff, and my experience when I'm fighting Custodes is you need to overcommit onto each unit. Like if you send a single squad after a unit, you probably don't do enough damage, and then that unit survives or the Dreadnought survives or whatever. So it feels like if you're playing Custodes, overcommit into every unit because they don't have that many units. It's all about making sure you kill the units. So charge a unit with 2 squads, whereas normally you would maybe charge 2 different units. because I feel like custodes are their durability will surprise you. Okay, we've got 2 squads of intercessors, the Audiobook rifles, plasma pistol and thunderhammer. You would take those because they're free. That's fine. I still prefer Phobos troops to these guys. I think that the infiltrators or incursors are just better. I actually ran some intercessors recently. They're okay, but I just think the mobility of the Phobos troops, the forward deploy, the Helix Gauntlet, the deep strike denial, it's all better than what the intercessors do. You've got Death Company with 4 hammers. You've got Death Company with 5 infernals, power swords and fists. You've got a Redemptor dreadnought. You got Sanguinary Guard with 2 infernals and Sanguinary Guard with 2 infernals. You've got Terminators with all Thunderhammers. I always say that this squad is better with a couple with Lightning Claws. That's my opinion. You've got a squad of Outriders. I guess they're cheap now. You've got Eliminators. You've got Eradicators with the heavy melt rifles, and you've got a Whirlwind. I was going to say, so all in all, invulnerable save wise, you've got this one squad of Terminators and Dante. You know, like your whole army, you've got 2 invuln saves. I generally think that's bad, I guess. I don't know. I mean, you become super terrain dependent, right? If you have 4 invulnerable saves in the current meta, because everybody's using free war gear and ridiculous weapons with lots of AP and free combi meltas and free meltas and Stern Guard with free multi meltas, right? So if you only got 4 invuln saves, 5 invuln saves army wide, that's going to be pretty brutal. In general, the choices you've picked are okay. You know, 2 Death Company, 2 Sangard is fine, I feel like. I probably feel like this Redemptor is the odd piece out because you want more invulnerable saves, and these troops don't do a whole lot in terms of protecting your backfield, which you probably want to do with troops. But if it's a Tempest of War list, then maybe you're not trying to be too competitive. Good evening, Knacking. Hey Mark, yeah, I finally got a haircut. I was waiting until I got my cast off, and I did actually shave as well because I hadn't bothered shaving since I broke my arm. So I just didn't shave for like 3 months, I guess, maybe something like that. Like end of I think it was like the end of November. Yeah, so not quite 3 months, but I shaved. You would need to change the Sanguinary Priest to its Legends version. Yeah, for competitive play, you would definitely need to change it. My gut feeling at the moment is you need more durability in a list than this if you want to win games right now. I suppose it depends on who you're playing and how meta heavy the armies you're up against are, right? I suppose that really depends on it, but you know, I played at that tournament where I had like 1 squad of Blade Guard veterans, an Impulsor, a Contemptor. What other invulnerable saves did I have? The Contemptor, the Impulsor, the 5 Blade Guard veterans, and I guess Lamarta's and my captain on a bike. So that's probably already double the number of invulnerable saves, and I felt like it was pretty rough. So I feel like at the moment, it will feel pretty rough if that's the number of invulnerable saves you have. Okay. Yeah, I used to love the Sanguinary Priest when he had weapon options. Who knows? The rumor I've heard is we're going back to indexes, and in the indices, the Sanguinary Priest had weapon options. I guess that was right at the start of the 8th edition when they had those indices books out, and I've heard a rumor that we're going back there. So yeah, my thought on that list is, Chris, a few more invulnerable saves. You probably have to lose like I'd probably lose a squad of intercessors for Phobos troops. Probably take infiltrators. I think they're the better choice right now. Probably take another unit of guys that have invulnerable saves. I probably feel like I would lose the Outriders. I don't think they're that good. I think they do pretty low damage. Even at the lower points they are now. They're just hitting with chain swords. They don't have that many attacks. I suppose they have some bolter shots, but yeah, I don't really rate Outriders. I don't know if we're going to see much of them. I don't know what people think about them. But my thought is I strongly doubt we're going back to indices. That's what I've heard, Mark. So that, yeah, that is what I've heard. But I mean, there's so many rumors floating around. But the thing is, with the rumor mill, it almost seems like the rumor mill is really accurate, which is surprising but also worrying. If you look at the new World Eaters Codex, they only got like 1 page of strats. So I've heard rumors that they feel like there's too many strats in the game. And that's why the indices rumor feels like it might have some weight. I don't know. That's just what I've heard. I don't have a reliable source or anything like that. Alright, list number 2 is Dank Newt. And he has a 2 CP 2000 point list. He's a captain with an Infernal Pistol, a Relic Blade, Rites of War, Armor Indomitus. I think Rites of War is such a good Warlord trait. I always run it in my competitive lists. I just think it just adds a lot of... Yeah, I think it just adds a lot to your list. Often it surprises the enemy and you steal objectives and you score points because of it. We've got Chaplain with Canticle of Hate and Icon of the Angel, so this will be a deep striking Chaplain to get +2 on the charge. And we've got Mephiston with Quickening, Shield, and Wings. Excuse me. No Unleash Rage on Mephiston, which I think is a mistake, because I think the best power in the Sanguinary discipline is Unleash Rage. I mean, if you're trying to do more damage, Unleash Rage will generally give you the most ability to do more damage, right? Especially if you've got any sort of squad with a lot of attacks, then that will give you the most value for your buck. And you got Sanguinary Priest with a jump pack. Okay. Jim says he lost to World Eaters again today. There was a much closer game. Trading between Fight on Death and the just pure damage output is rough. I'm going to play World Eaters on Wednesday night. How did you find their new mechanic? What's it called? Like Battle Tide points or something? Or Blood Tide, I think it's called. How did you find that, Jim? Was it nasty? Good evening, Chrono saying. Alright, we've got 1 Infiltrators, 1 Heavy Intercessors, and 1 Assault Intercessors. I think that's fine. Nice to see 3 troop choices by choice, I guess. 1 Death Company with Infernal Pistols and Power Swords for the most part. I guess he just doesn't have a 5th model with an Infernal Pistol, but I would sort that out, I suppose. Sanguinary Ancient with Wrath of Baal to get the +2 in the movement. 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard, a 7 with all Infernal Pistols, a 4 with all Infernal Pistols. 2 squads of Terminators, all with Storm Shields. And again, I always say, like, I think you should have some Lightning Claws in these squads, because if you ever fight 1 damage enemies, you're going to lose a lot of points, right? Or you're going to lose a lot of damage with Thunderhammers. You got Assault Squad with a Sergeant with a Combat Shield, Infernal Pistol, and Thunderhammer. And then a couple of Meltaguns. You also got an Eviscerator in there. The Assault Squad for 90 points is pretty fun with all these weapon options now. You got the Hammer Strike, which I forget which variant that is, right? Like, that's the variant that has the multi-melta or the melta array. They keep changing the points. They've changed the points of those Storm Strikes so many times. Like, so many times. God knows what points they actually released at the beginning of 9th edition. They probably released at about 180 points. Hammer Strike. It is the Melta one. I think for 125 points that's possibly okay. I still think you're probably better just taking 2 Firstborn Land Speeders. Because they don't profile. But I've got Hammer Strike. I've played it in a few games. I think it's okay. It's not a bad unit. I've never seen anyone screening, but I think it's a good strategy to keep them away. I think infiltrate against chaos or against demons of chaos. I guess world eaters are a bit of both. Infiltrators are going to be really, really useful, right? Walter, hello to Italy. How you doing? So yeah, you're going to want to screen him so that he cannot make a 9-inch charge when he returns from death, right? And then you've got 2 squads of Eliminators. Okay. A few more invulnerable saves in this list. Like, you've got, like, 12. So that's something. Good number of jump units. And the Sangre Ancient. That's good as well. I think you would be probably better dropping one of these squads of Sangard and getting a Death Company with 4 hammers. I just think that's a better unit to have right now. I'd put some Lightning Claws in these Terminators Assault Squads. I mean, I like your Assault Squad. I think the Hammer Strike is fine enough. You could replace it with 2 Land Speeders, but there's very little in it. 2 Eliminators with Las Fusils. Seems fine as well. I don't run them. I have tried to run them. I thought they were really good in Armor of Contempt. They're a bit weaker now, but they still have a 1-up save and cover. So a little bit of shooting, a little bit of durability, a bit of fast moving, and then 3 troop choices. And the 5 characters actually. Oh, I didn't realize that. 5 characters. I guess I don't really like that. What's that? 205, 400, 560 points in characters. I said to try and keep that under 400, and that was before they dropped the points cost. So now I guess probably like 350. Like, characters multiply your force, but you know, if you dropped 1 or 1.5 of those characters, you know, like drop 1 and take a cheaper version of something else, then you can fit in your 5 Death Company with Thunderhammers. I feel like 5 Death Company with Thunderhammers is always going to do more damage than, I don't know, bringing Mephiston or something. And you did bring Mephiston, you didn't give him Unleash Rage, which is arguably the thing that gives him the most damage. And you do have a few, you got 7-man Sanguinary Guard, they get 5 attacks per model, that's 35 attacks, they're near your Warlord, they're hitting on 2s, they're rerolling 1s, so you basically make like 34 hits. You're bursting 6s if you put Unleash Rage on them, so 34 times 16% is 5, I think. Maybe slightly more. 34 times 0.116. Yeah, 5. So, like, on an average roll, Unleash Rage is going to give you 5 extra Sanguinary Guard attacks. That's 10 more damage. You know, Quickening isn't going to give Mephiston 10 more damage, I'll tell you that right now. Quickening is probably going to give you 2 extra attacks, and one of them is probably going to do 1 damage because Mephiston's sword always swings low for me. So Unleash Rage would give you 10 attacks. And I've also seen Unleash Rage, like 34 dice is a lot of dice. You can easily roll a bunch of 6s with 34 dice. I think I attacked a knight one time with a 7-man or a 6-man Sanguinary Guard, and like I got like 14 6s. It was funny because the knight ended up dying just like the last attack took the last wound off of him. But I would have never killed it if I didn't have Unleash Rage and like the extra 14 hits or something. Next edition Sanguinary Guard need to be better. I don't know what they're going to do with Sanguinary Guard. I guess we'll see. I can't imagine they'll give them Weapon Skill 2. I don't mind them having +1 to hit when they're near their Warlord. Combined with the banner that you get from the Ancient, also giving +1 to hit. I genuinely think Weapon Skill 3 on Sanguinary Guard is fine. What I would like is Sanguinary Guard to be able to take 3 damage weapons like Thunderhammers, or change the banner back, because the banner in 8th edition was an aura of reroll 1s to wound, which was really strong. Like, I feel like that was much better than the +1 to hit it is right now. So I'd like the banner to get changed back. Okay, yeah, there's a few improvements that could be made in this list for sure. I think I've got most of them. Yeah. Overall, it's not a bad list, I think. Hard to say exactly how competitive this is right now. But it's not bad. I do like spamming Infernal Pistols on squads if they're free. I just think the Death Company with 4 Thunderhammers is almost too good to give up, right? Every other basic Honor Guard unit has a 2+, it's only ours that doesn't. Sanguinary Guard should be max 1 unit and stronger. I can't see them doing a max 1 unit thing because no one else is constrained by that, really. Okay. But yes, you're right. Sanguinary Guard. I was actually thinking of emailing Games Workshop at some point, asking like, what's the reasoning behind Sanguinary Guard not having a 5+ when they wear Artificer armor, and everybody else that wears Artificer armor gets a 5+? Is it because they have a jump pack? For some reason, you feel like they're not allowed a 5+ invuln? It wouldn't make a big difference because, like, especially with like Iron Hands -5 multi meltas, I don't really think they expected. You know, you have Sanguinary Guard in cover. You're on a 1+ save. I don't really think they expected you to be getting hit with weapons that are -5, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, okay, my Sanguinary Guard is save on 6s. This is a bit silly, isn't it? For being such an elite unit, they're basically unable to save, period, and they're dead, period, because the multi-melters are probably within half range and they're hitting you at, they're hitting you with +2 damage, right? I think the main thing, I think 5+ would balance Sanguinary Guard without making them broken. 5+ isn't a reliable save either, right? Like, the amount of times you have to do 3 5+, you can fail all 3. I just think that I don't think the designers envisioned a model on a 2+ save not getting to make a save, right? Like, that's not really. That just shows how much AP has spiraled. Because there was a time in the meta where a 2+, like, a few years ago, the 2+ save was so good, right? Like, it was like, oh, they've got a 2+ save. You almost didn't want to attack them. Now it's like, well, they got a 2+ save, but I've got -5, so, well, they just won't get saved, right? Not all Artificer armor is created equal. How dare you discriminate against the Blood Angel's Artificer armor? I'm going to have to read the lower page and tell you what it says about the Sanguinary Guard's Artificer armor now. How dare you do this to me, DTM? Oh, this is Black Templar's Codex. It's not going to be in there. Alright, Codex Blood Angels, that's what we're after. There's got to be some lore in here. Here's a big 2-page about the Death Company. Sanguinary Guard. As the Sanguinary Guard are ancient, so too is their war gear. They can trace the lineage of their golden armor and wrist-mounted Angelus bolt guns to the time of the Horus Heresy is no different from the mighty Incarmite glaives that they wield, and they cannot be scratched, warped, or broken, no matter how terrible the violence wrought by or against them. So apparently they're so strong they cannot be scratched, warped, or broken, but you can't make a saving throw in them. So let's just leave it at that, right? There's your fluff. There's your fluff. Okay, Joel is next. They say the same about power armor. I suppose they do. They did, but it's almost a meme how bad power armor has become, isn't it? Sanguinary Guard are made boring by their overuse. I agree with that, Jasper. Everybody, I don't like armies. I don't like Blood Angels lists that field 3 squads of Sanguinary Guard. I think I probably have been guilty of that. Like, I think I probably have been guilty of fielding 3 squads of Sanguinary Guard a couple of times in 9th edition. But yeah, I don't like a unit being so good that that it's just like you just need to field 3 of them. That's why I said at some point I thought it'd be cool if there was a season where they said you're only allowed to field 2 of the same units. Just to if Arcs of Omen is a different season where everything's different, it'd also be cool if they just did a season where it's like you can only field 2 of the same model, for example, right? So it's like other armies that do the same, like run 3 Sangre Guard or run 3 Death Company. Well, you couldn't. You could just run 2 Sangard and 2 Death Company because you can't, like a rule of 2 for that season. I think that could be cool. I guess we'll see where they go with seasons, right? Maybe troops are exempt though, because troops doesn't really matter, right? But like for elites and stuff, that's what I thought might be cool. Okay, so Joel said he's got a list, and it's quite a short list here actually. He's got intercessors with auto bolters. He's got a sergeant. I was gonna say this is strange. I'm actually not sure what he's done here, Joel. He's even just said aggressors with flame things. Okay. I think the main thing I would say to you, Joel, is download Battlescribe. If you've not used it, you can get it. I think just go to Battlescribe. Build your army list. Download it on your App Store, your phone, or Windows. Install it. Once you've installed it, you basically add the data for 40k. If you don't know how to do that, someone in Discord, I'm sure, will help you. And it will let you add the units that you want with the real names. It'll let you add the actual war gear for them, and it'll spit out the lists that you see everybody else use with the points costs and stuff like that. If you resubmit a list to me from Battlescribe with like an export in Battlescribe, there's a button at the top of the screen. You just go like export to text and then put it into me. I'll make sure that your army gets reviewed a lot more quickly or quicker, like in the queue, because there's a lot of things you're missing. Like librarians can take powers, so you would have needed to pick powers. Captains need war gear. Lieutenants, I guess, could have war gear. Yeah, just make a list on Battlescribe. If this is all the models you have, fine. Add all the models. See how many points it is. Tell me what the goal is for the list, and we'll get it. Get it sorted. We kind of see where they're going with the 10th edition before taking on seasonal changes. Yeah, I don't. Is it just me, or is this the difference between seasons very small? Is this Joel Z? I don't know is that his name in is that his name? Vanguard are the best of the best of the best of Blood Angels, with only ever 24 each times in the chapter. Yeah, I believe there's only ever. I thought it was 25, but maybe it's 24. But I dislike when they make one unit like an auto pick like that. I really do. That's why I really hated last season, where it was like, as Blood Angels, you just wanted to run 3 Sangard and 3 Death Company, and you didn't even need to think. Like, there was no better list. That was just the list that everybody should have been running, and it's boring. I mean, this season is fun because there's a lot of different options, I think. So maybe that's why people like the season, even if it's a bit weird in terms of how competitive it's going to be. All right. So yeah, Joel, resubmit an export from Battlescribe. I don't want you to just write down your stuff like that, because it's kind of impossible to actually give it like a consistent review. All right. Steve's list next. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so Steve has got 2 CP 2000. No, 1 CP 2000 points. He's got a Blade Guard and Judiciar and an Impulsor. He's got a Lieutenant and a Tech Marine with Volkite for buffs, and a Captain for buffs at Vainian. He's thinking of taking Oaks, Shock Tactics, and Banners. Jasper says, I hope Marines become lower balanced, 100 points per Marine, 10 wounds. I mean, yeah, I know, I don't... It's weird, Marines are in a weird state, because, like, at some point they were really powerful. Like, they were seen as powerful within the game itself, but AP's really crept up seriously, damage rolls have crept up seriously. I don't necessarily dislike where Marines have landed, but it does make you question stuff. Like that Artificer armor example is a good example. It's like there was years ago, no one was questioning that. No one was going like Sanguinary Guard need a 5-up invulnerable save because a 2-up invulnerable save was awesome. Sorry, a 2-up regular save was awesome. I guess a 2-up regular save now because AP's crept up so much. Not so much, right? Alright, Captain on a Bike, Gift of Foresight, Angel's Artifice, Infernal Pistol, Thunderhammer. Okay, cool. 2 CP spent on him. Lieutenant with a Volkite pistol and a power sword and a storm shield. A Tech Marine with Master of the Forge and a Chief Apothecary Selfless Healer. Okay. Quite a lot of points on characters here. I guess the Lieutenant's quite cheap now, actually. Yeah, the Lieutenant's actually really quite cheap now, isn't he? I feel like the Lieutenant used to be 90 points. Maybe it was only 80, but maybe it felt like 90. Okay. Heavy Intercessors and Infiltrators. Sup, JT? Sup, party people? Is that from a Bloodhound Gang song? That's the last time I heard someone say that. We've got 6 Blade Guard. We've got the 5 Death Company with Thunderhammers. We've got the Judiciar. We've got 2 Relic Contemptors with Twin Volkites. We got 2 6-man Sanguinary Guard, all Infernals. And we've got a Whirlwind and we've got an Impulsor. Okay, interesting. So 2 fast-moving units. 3 actually, because you've got the Death Company. The Blade Guard. The double fire support. Contemptors. The Heavy Intercessors. The Infiltrator Squad. And Lieutenant, Tech Marine. It seems decent. It's an interesting list, Steve. The Lieutenant was 90 points with upgrades. Okay, yeah, so that's why I thought he was 90. Now he's 65. He's pretty good at 65. He feels pretty cheap. He's got like 4 wounds and 5 attacks. Is that right? I think he's got 4 wounds and 5 attacks. Oh no, he's not. That's not him. Primaris Lieutenant. Oh, I think I got it around the wrong way. 5 wounds and 4 attacks. I mean, 5 wounds for 65 points. It's not bad. Considering he's got a Storm Shield. He does have a Mastercrafted Sword as well. I mean, he's certainly not bad, is he? 2-up save. 4-up infun. I mean, he feels like he could be a Rites of War carrier, actually. Did this list have Rites of War? No. He got Chief Apothecary. How many CPs he got? 1. Ugh. He feels like he could be a good Rites of War character, though. Really does. I suppose the Judiciar could be Rites of War carrier as well. 5 characters again, though. Slightly less spent. It's still just coming in just shy of 500 points. I don't know what the ideal number for characters is these days, but I feel like maybe that's okay. Maybe it's okay to have 500 points. Also, 5 characters here giving 15 points away in Assassinate could be a bit of a problematic. The thing about Relic Contemptors is they are swingy as all hell. I think we saw that against Iron Hands, like on my battle report this week. Like, sometimes those units do nothing. Literally nothing. They don't do a single wound. They don't do a single mortal. Other times, they spit out like 6 mortals and make the enemy take 10 saves. I Hey, thank you so much for subscribing. I don't even know if it popped up. Oh, it did. Ice Masky, appreciate it. I feel like I made a video a while back actually about Relic Contemptors saying that you know, it's a long time since I made the video, so I don't remember exactly what I said, but the gist of it was that these like Volkite coverings, right? Whatever it is, like each time an attack is made with an unmodified rule of 6, one mortal wound of the target in additional to any damage. I think these things should be capped on like weapons that are like heavy 8 or something, where it's like you could easily do something like if a saving throw has ever failed against this any of the 8 shots, this model takes 2 mortal wounds, and just leave it at that, right? Like unify it where it's like, okay, most of the time it's going to do 2 mortals, but it's not going to swing from like 0 mortals. I mean, I think I fired one of these one time, like one heavy weapon. I think I fired it one time at something. I want to say I did like, I feel like it was 7 mortal wounds. Like I must have just bursted the hell out of 6s. But like that's just the thing, and I genuinely there's another Volkite on the. I mean, equally, I've been to a bunch of tournaments with these things, and I've fired both barrels at stuff, and I've done no mortals. I think it's on the Derideo Dreadnought. There's a Volkite that does 2 mortals on 6s. Yeah, it's this one, the Volkite Falconet battery. So it's heavy 6, strength 8, -2, 2 damage. So it's actually not a bad gun. But any wound roll of 6 does 2 mortals, right? So I don't know, you get lucky and roll 3 or 4 6s here. Suddenly you've done 8 mortal wounds on top of them. I think these things should just be normalized. I don't understand. I get it's a dice game and there should be some randomness in it, but I also think it's kind of stupid. Like, I suppose it's if you look at all those other stratagems and stuff that other armies have got, right? Other armies have literally got strats that say you cannot do more than 6 mortals with this strat. I think that's. I mean, that's just. It's not poor rule writing, I suppose, but it's just like they should just do better at just be like, don't make strats that can do 6 mortal wounds. Make a strat like everybody's strat should do 3 mortal wounds, and if you're going to pay the CP for the strat, it should probably just do 3. At my tournament yesterday, got 3 mortals from 3 games. How many Volkite Contemptors were you running? I mean, here's the thing. When these guys were 140 points, I took 2 of them all the way to the top table of an event. Unfortunately, at the top table, I played an army I'd never fought before, and I lost. But I do think 2 Volkite Contemptors with Tech Marine, with Chapter Master, with a Lieutenant is actually pretty decent. The 45-inch range is nice. It's just they're a bit silly and they're a bit swingy. Beyond that, I guess I've been sort of advocating like 3 jump units is good. I've been advocating for invulnerable saves. Well, you've got that in the Impulsor, you've got that in the Blade Guard. I guess you've got that in the Relic Contemptors. So overall, I think this list is probably going to do okay, Steve. I think it might come undone. Here's the thing. Volkite's Contemptors are really good for Iron Hands because they stay in Devastator Doctrine. Once you get deeper into the game, they have no AP for Blood Angels. So if you run into an enemy that has like really good saves, like Custodes, saving on 2s, when I played them at the top table, it was Grey Knights. So like they're Dread Knights saving on 2s. If you fight against something that are saving on 2s, these things will probably end up doing 0 damage. So then it all comes down to how many 6s you roll for the mortals, and sometimes when you need the 6s, they don't come, right? So I think it's an okay list, Steve. I feel like there's a bit of luck involved with Relic Contemptors, but they're not a bad unit. I think, and if you're running them here as an obvious fire support choice. I think the best way to ride, and I get what you're trying to do. You're running them as a fire support choice. You want 45 inches. You want to try and spit out some mortals every turn. I think probably if this was me, what I would do is I would lose your lieutenant. I would lose a Volkite on both of them. I'd give them both Cyclone missile launchers, and I'd give them both like a chain fist, and then walk on in. So shoot with a Volkite, shoot your crack missiles, and then if you get into melee, you can tear shit up with a chain fist. It also means that you can never really be locked down, so to speak. In that, like, I remember when I ran these, someone deep strike like a squad of Tempest Scions in next to them just to charge one of them, so that I had like I'm never going to kill Tempest Scions in combat with no melee weapon. I'm not killing them. So he just wanted to charge the Contemptor and basically, make it that I have to shoot the Volkites into melee combat to kill the Scions. Jasper just ran the Contemptor with 2 heavy plasma. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I ran it at the tournament that I won, right? Yeah, I did. I ran one at the tournament I won, and it was 1 Volkite, it was 1 Cyclone Missile, and it was 1... I think I just had the combat weapon because I didn't have enough points for the Chain Fist, but the combat weapon's fine, right? It's still like Strength 12, -3 damage. So the combat weapon isn't bad if you can't afford the extra points for the Chain Fist, but the Chain Fist is better. But I think typically for Blood Angels, you probably want to be pushing both Contemptors across the board so that the enemy is forced to engage on the Contemptors. They can't ignore them because they've got crack missiles and Volkites. They can't ignore them because if they get in combat, they kill a lot, even with the regular combat weapon. Jim says, I've been toying around with a vanilla multi-metal Contemptor just for a decent threat and invulnerability. I mean, it's not a bad pick, Jim. And the other thing that's nice about Contemptors is they don't profile. So even on 1 wound, they're still shooting at full profile. And that's probably the best thing about them, right? Because it just means if they ever get left for a turn on 1 wound, then they're still doing their full damage output. And a lot of other things get profiled. I mean, like Redemptors and stuff like that, right? So, do we actually know the final stats on the Brutalis? You can put the Contemptor on a Stormraven as well, yeah. So, Steve, this is an okay list. I just don't know if it's super competitive right now. If you're fighting, like, I've been fighting Iron Hands, right? And they're running, like, 3 Leviathans and, like, 4 Gladiators or something. Your Contemptors will do nothing against those, right? Because you'll only wound on 5s, both the Leviathans and the Gladiators. And against the Leviathan, it'll be saving on 2s. So you're literally, and you're only doing 1 damage a shot because they're -1 damage. So it's literally only your mortals are going to sneak through. Remember, Iron Hands get a 6-up, feel no pain against everything. And then on your Gladiators, again, you're only going to be wounding on 5s. They're going to be saving on 3s, and again, 6-up, feel no pain. So there's certain matchups where Relic Contemptors are just really bad. But like I said, they're bad. But if one of them swings 10 mortal wounds, because I've had it before where, like, I've shot them at a giant knight, whatever, toughness 8 knight. I've shot 1 Relic Contemptor at a knight, like 45 inches across the battlefield, and I've done 10 wounds. Like, it happens. But I think it's hard to win an event with them. So that's my opinion on and like I said, I almost did win an event with them. I really tried. DTSN says, remember to like the stream if you are enjoying it tonight. Yeah, please do that. James has been thinking about the Contemptor on a Stormraven as well. It is the season of just having fun. If you think that you can have fun with that right now, go for it. Let's get Nucking's list on next, because I think I saw him in the chat a few minutes ago. Alright. I run 2 Redemptors and 1 Plasma Cannon Contemptor. So far so good with Psychic Fortress. I've done that at the tournament as well, Jasper, and I almost won the tournament. The final game of the tournament, I went second, and it was against Dukari, and they got those fucking D3+3 Dark Lances with re-rolling hits, and they kicked the crap out of both of my Redemptors before I was able to cast Psychic Fortress. So it's like every great idea has a counter, it feels like. But you gotta take something. You gotta try something, right? So Nucking says, this is my first list submission, and he's going to perhaps run it at a GT in April. I'm aware that the Death Company Dreadnought ain't 110% optimal, but I think it deserves a spot, and it's a great distracting. I think the Death Company Dreadnought can probably get some value if you've got Quake Bolts, right? The 10-man Death Company squad is intended from death from above, but will hopefully make the opponent deploy suboptimal. I'm more likely to furlong Fury unit with 5 Thunderhammers. I hate the Death Company, the 10-man squad Nucking, because Death Company leadership sucks. I guess maybe if you've got a chaplain or something, it'll be okay, but their leadership sucks. You can't furlong Fury them because it's 2 CP, and I just think you're always better with 5, but I guess, like, if you've played a lot of 10-man Death Company and you're good with them, then, you know, more power to you. I tried to make the 10-man work. I didn't like it. Terminators will divide in combat squads with Canticle of Hate. They'll hopefully make some charges. I slapped a Mastercrafted Thunderhammer on the Sergeant just because, again, if you're running Mastercrafted Thunderhammer on the Terminator Sergeant, you're going to get value if you've got Quake Bolts somewhere in this list. I notice also you said you've got Centurions. Again, Quake Bolts. A lot of stuff is going to benefit from Quake Bolts here, potentially. Or, I guess, the banner from the Sanguinary Priest, but more value from Quake Bolts because Centurions don't have core and so can't benefit from the banner. Jim says, I hate the stupid CP tax on forward rolled stuff. Yeah, I think it's a bit dated. The Imperial Armor this edition wasn't a great book, to be honest. The CP tax was DTM says it was designed with Nachman in mind. Yeah, it probably was, yeah. Alex says, probably apologies have already been asked. But do those hideous-looking missile launcher boys get the same fight last rule as the Whirlwind? I have no idea, Alex. I haven't seen the rules for the new models, the missile launcher or the Brutalis. I plan on doing a video on both units as soon as we have rules for them. I imagine there's going to be like a mini codex inside the box. You know, like in the Vanguard Space Marine box, there was like a mini codex in there. And it's up for pre-order this weekend. So does that mean like influencers will get it on the pre-order day? Unfortunately, I'm not a big enough influencer, I guess, to get any free copies or anything like that. There is a booklet in the box, said Andronis. Mark says they won't have the Whirlwind keyword. Yeah, it's likely unless they have their own specific rule, but I'm trying to think back. They never really, unless it's written on the data sheet, because they don't really bring out stratagems for new units typically. That's not the way that works, right? No stats published yet, says John. Yeah, I saw a video like a month ago from Auspex Tactics. He apparently had the rules for the Brutalis Dreadnought, but I thought I'd just wait, and I didn't want to make a video with the wrong rules. People ask questions about it on the video. Hey, is this the rules? And then I have to come back and tell them, no, there's another fucking video. You should watch that. And also it saves me making 2 videos, I guess. So I'll just make the video when I know the actual correct rules. Alright, we got a captain on a bike. He's got Speed of the Primarch and Selfless Valor. So he's heroically intervening 6, and he is fighting first. He also has the Hammer of Baal, an Infernal Pistol, and a Storm Shield. Interesting choice of... We see nobody pick Speed of the Primarch because it's pretty risky. You know that with... I don't know if you know this, Nucking, but if the enemy has charged and you heroically intervene, even though you've got Speed of the Primarch, they will still get to fight first, right? I think Speed of the Primarch is actually kind of a lower... It's kind of bad, I suppose. I mean, I guess if you heroically intervene into a unit that hasn't charged, sure, you can fight first. But I feel like most of the time you're going to be heroic intervening. You're probably heroically intervening into something that is charged, right? So as long as you're aware of that, then fine. I don't see Speed of the Primarch as a very good Warlord trait. I think 6-inch Heroic is pretty good, though. Primaris Chaplain on a bike with Mantra of Strength, Canticle of Hate. He's also got the Benediction of Fury, so he's got the potential 4 damage weapon. I think that's all he's got, right? No, and he's also the Wise Orator, so he can cast 2 litanies on 2s, right? Gitley says absolutely knackered after a GT this weekend. Went 4-1, losing at the top table for the final round. So close to 5-0. Unlucky Gitley. What was? Have you shared a list recently? I'd love to see a 4-1 list. But well done, dude. Which GT were you at? We got the Sanguinary Priest with the jump back as standard. We got Assault Intercessor Squad, Plasma Pistol and Thunderhammer, of course. We've got Centurions with Hurricane Bolters and Siege Drills and Meltaguns. 300 points. I never got round to buying 3 more Centurions, so I've never run. I've never run more than 3 Centurions. Can you have Shield, Hammer, and Pistol on what? Sorry. And that Captain. Did he have a... No, you can't have an Infernal Pistol and a Storm Shield. Yeah, that's a mistake. I'm surprised Battlescribe didn't throw that up. Maybe Battlescribe isn't quite right at the moment. Is this list starting on 12 CP? No, all the lists at the moment will be starting on 6. I think he's probably just written 12 up there by mistake. Yeah, it will be starting on 6. We got the Death Company Dreadnought with double Heavy Flamer. We've got Death Company with 5 Thunderhammers. We've got Death Company with 5 Infernal Pistols and Power Swords. We've got a third Death Company with 5 Infernal Pistols and Power Swords and 5 Thunderhammers. Man, you've gone hard on these Death Company. Death Company die super fucking fast at the moment, Nucking. I really dislike this 10-man squad. You will fail morale on this squad for sure, I feel like, at some point. You get Judiciar with Heroic Bearing. And strange pick for the Judiciar, okay. And then a big Terminator squad, which we're going to Combat Squad. You mastercrafted the Sergeant's Weapon, and then the Whirlwind with the wrong... it should be the Castellan Launcher in there for 125 points. 10 Infiltrators, 19 Sandguard, 10 Death Company Hammers, 10 Scouts, 5 Assault Marines, and a Whirlwind. Heroic Bearing for 6-inch Temper Mortis. Temper Mortis isn't an aura, so you can't use Heroic Bearing on it. Temper Mortis is an ability, and Heroic Bearing is an aura. It buffs auras. See, if it was an aura, it would say at the beginning, aura, here. I'm like 90% sure of that. I'm sure Heroic Bearing says it buffs auras. Yeah, so Heroic Bearing is almost like a wasted trait. Yeah, I think you're confused. So Heroic Bearing, you can't do that. You'd be better off with the 6-inch Heroic Intervention on the Judiciar. That's right. But I think you've spent too many CP here, because you should only, if you're going to GT with this, you're only gonna have 6 CP. You're not gonna have 12. So you spent 2 in this character, 2 in this character. You've got the Quake Bolts here. You've got the other one here, and then the Angel Descendant. So you've spent 7. So you've spent 1 too many. Generally, I don't like Speed of the Primarch on... I just don't. I think that it's very situational. I don't like the 10-man Death Company. I mean, the thing with the Death Company is... And this is the thing that sort of annoyed me with the new season of, like, you know, getting all that free war gear or whatever you want to call it, is like, if you've got a Death Company with 5 Infernal Pistols and 5 Power Swords, like this one here, I think before the update, I want to say they were like 150 points, maybe 145 or something, right? Used right, they will kill whatever you need them to kill. Let's say there's an enemy tank with no invulnerable save, perfect. You'll jump in, you'll shoot all the Infernal Pistols at it, you'll hit them with the Power Swords, you kill the tank. I used them before in a game where I was like fighting a Gaskell Thraka, and I was like, I just need to do 4 wounds to Gaskell this turn with any unit I can, because if I can do 4 wounds to him, then in a future turn I can kill him because he's got like 12 wounds in the 4 per turn, 4 per phase cap. So I was like, I need a disposable unit that I can jump in, guarantee I can do 4 wounds to Gaskell, so that next turn I can kill him. So throw in that 5-man Death Company, 5 Infernal Pistols, 20 odd Power Sword attacks. You're definitely going to do 4 wounds to him. I think I ended up actually doing 5 because I think I did like some in the shooting phase and some in the combat phase, and I was like, perfect, Gaskell's on 7 now, I can definitely kill him in the next phase. So this is the thing with this 10-man Death Company, right? Most of the time, Death Company with 5 hammers, which you've got, or Death Company with 5 power swords and 5 infernal pistols, which you've got, will kill a single target, right? There's going to be very few targets where you're going to be like, I need 25 Thunderhammer attacks and 5 infernal pistols and 25 power swords. I mean, like, 25 Thunderhammers is 75 damage, 25 power swords is another 25 damage, and then 5 infernal pistols is potentially, I guess if you average it, say about 4 damage, because d6 plus 2 and stuff, you don't know exactly what it is. You know, the 10-man squad of Death Company can do 120 damage. But realistically, you'd probably be fine with your Death Company that can do 75 damage and then take half those points and use them elsewhere. You could charge into more than one target. You could. You're also much... I don't know. It's a big squad. Anyone, like... If people have plasma inceptors, or if people have weapons that get maximum number of shots, because you're going to be susceptible to blast, your call. Obviously, it's, with everybody that submits a list, it's your call. I found the 10-man Death Company kind of just problematic, honestly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so you're kind of at your limit with your elite choices. So the only way you could, if you split that Death Company up, you need to take some fast attack, or you need to take a second unit of troops. I think infiltrators are going to be really strong at the moment. If you're going to a GT, I think you'd be wrong. Personally, like, I am not going to GT without 2 squads of infiltrators, because Chaos Demons are a thing, and they are psychic manifestation crap where they get to deep strike your leadership -1 away from you. So, like, am I right in thinking that if your Death Company's leadership 7, that means that they can deep strike 6 inches away from your Death Company? I feel like a 6 on 2d6 is a pretty reliable number to roll. Haven't used any dice in a while, but let me just check. If you need to roll 6 on 2d6, it's 72%. And then it would be like 28 times 72. Yeah, okay, so if they need to make that charge, it's a 92% chance. So I feel like I'm not going to GT without at least 1 squad of infiltrators. I just think they're too good. And they'll sticky objectives. They can jump around the map with guerrilla tactics. They can ignore the first time they feel damage because the Helix Gauntlet. You didn't really mention... Did you mention secondaries? Sometimes you need... Like, you've got 3 squads of Death Company. They aren't doing any actions. Your Centurions are probably most definitely not doing actions. I feel like your Terminators are not doing actions. So what you're trying... If it's a map that's about actions, you're going to try and do them all with 1 squad of Assault Intercessors. You know, sometimes you want banners. You want to put up a couple of banners at the start of the game, and with infiltrators, those banners are pretty safe for a couple of turns because nothing's coming down within 12 inches. So nothing can deep strike into your banners. You know, if you have banners on two objectives on your side of the map for half a game, it's a very quick 6 to 8 points. Very easy secondary to pull off as well. So yeah, personally, at the moment, I guess, because I'm going to GT on the 4th of March. I think it's the 4th of March. Shit, it's probably going to be list submissions this week, actually, for my GT. I need to actually check that. I'm really bad for remembering when my list submissions are. So I got the GT on the 4th of March. I guess, like, things that are definitely not coming out of my list right now, off the top of my head, is like 2 squads of Death Company with 5 hammers, or 4 hammers in my case, the 2 infiltrator squads. Like, everything else is up on the table for, like, we'll change it out. Those things are not getting changed out. Because those Death Company always trade. They literally always trade up. And I never feel like I need 10. Maybe in the very odd case, I feel like I might need 10. I just think the Death Company's leadership is notoriously shit. And if people know your chaplain is what's making your leadership not shit, people will try and kill the chaplain. I feel like, say they charge the Death Company and the chaplain, they'll put all the attacks into the chaplain first, so they just get him out of there. How do we feel about 90-point Assault Marines? They're good. They're good with the free war gear and stuff you get now. You could even in this list have a squad of Assault Marines as another unit that can do actions and get around the board and claim objectives, right? But yeah, I feel like the infiltrators are super important. I was going to say overall, I mean, you've got a lot of mobility. You've got a decent amount of invulnerable saves. I've kind of stayed away from Centurions because I feel like I'd rather have models with invulnerable saves against Centurions. Some people love Centurions, I guess. But yeah, I don't think that's the problem. I think you need to spend less CP. You probably want to rethink speed at the Primarch. I feel like you definitely want to rethink your heroic bearing here. Get some practice on that 10-man Death Company and see if you actually feel like there's enough value in them. I'd reserve the Death Company Dreadnought because I don't know really how useful he is. You're just with the Death Company Dreadnought, you're literally closing your eyes and rolling the dice on, hey, if you can roll an 8 on 2 dice. The Centurions would go in reserve now, which would be nice. That was the thing that was probably stopping them getting play before, is their 18 power level. But again, 8-inch charge from Centurions or a 9-inch charge with +1. I don't like relying on that too much if you can help it. But I mean, it's not so bad. You do have Canticle of Hate, so yeah, I think overall it's not bad. I guess shore up some of the war gear. Or shore up some of the relics and stuff. I'm glad you got Quake Bolts. You get a lot of value in this list on Quake Bolts. I'm actually wondering if I wonder if your Chapter Master could run Quake Bolts. I don't know if I rate the Hammer of Baal. We don't see many competitive lists run it, right? I generally always think it's better to take something that gives you, like, it's the same strength as a Thunderhammer. It's just 1 extra AP with no -1 to hit. I mean, realistically, it gets you 1 more hit and like 1 more AP. Usually, Thunderhammer's AP is enough to force units onto their invulnerable save. Like, usually, right? That's why I take, like, Armor Indomitus on my captain. Give them an extra wound. And gives them 1 round of a 3-up invuln when he desperately needs to survive. Because I think that if you have that 1 extra wound and you have the 3-up invulnerable save, like, so if he gets charged by something really nasty or he gets exposed and gets shot at by someone really nasty, he survives that one extra turn, it can really, I mean, it can make up for, it can more than make up for not having one extra AP from the Hammer of Val. The other thing that I just iterate here as well is this list doesn't have Rights of War. So you have one OBSEC unit in it, which I kind of hate. OBSEC wins games, it really does. Blood Angels can jump onto objectives and kill models for sure, but sometimes being OBSEC is the difference between winning and losing a game, and having OBSEC on a fast-moving character like a captain on a bike that can advance a guaranteed 20 inches will win or lose you games. So I guess just consider that maybe as a final point. Gitley says that he thinks the Hammer of Baal is too much of a luxury. Yeah, I don't think competitive players pick Hammer of Baal, or I don't think people trying to win tournaments pick Hammer of Baal. Some do. And there definitely was a time when Blood Angels players took Hammer of Baal. I definitely remember taking it before, but maybe not so much as of late. The Juiciar is to come in with the Centurions. If they fail to charge, he can then make anyone that charges them fight last. I mean, that's on paper, that's a cool idea. I guess in reality, you have to let me know how it goes. I've been considering the Kaladas Assassin recently, but GW mucked up by not enabling the strats. I think they're trying to really cut down on how many strats there is available in the game, right? Gitley used to take the hammer when he had 12 CP. Yeah, do you know, I think you're right, Gitley. I think we saw more people take the Hammer of Baal when it was like 12 CP. We got 54 people viewing tonight. We got 25 likes on the stream, guys. If you can hit the like button before you finish watching, it would be surely appreciated. Okay, if you got any more questions, Knocking, just ask them. We're going to move on to the next list, which is by Killer, who was here a little earlier. Hopefully he's still in chat. Haven't seen him speak for a little bit. Oh, Mark says the strats are still in the old books. They're probably still valid. Huh. Well, that's cool. I'm glad that that the strat. I did think it was a little bit silly that there was no strats. Okay, cool. We next have Killer's List. I just said that literally. So 1 CP, 2,000 points. This is a successor chapter. What's the successor traits? Where are they? Oh, they're inheritors of the Primarch. So it's the standard Blood Angels, +1 to advance and charge, +1 to wound when charged, or heroically intervene. Cool. We've got a chaplain with Manticore of Strength and Canticle of Hate. He's the Master of Sanctity. He's got an Infernal Pistol. He also has Armor and Dominance, and he's the Wise Orator. Okay, we got the Death Company Captain on the bike. We haven't seen this guy in a while, actually. He's got a Storm Shield. He's got the Teeth of Terra. He's got the Imperium Sword. I've ran this guy before. I think he's a pretty cool character for a Captain on a bike, because Captain on a bike starts on 4 attacks. Being in the Death Company gives him 5 attacks. Having the Teeth of Terra gives him +3 attacks, so that's 8 attacks. Having Imperium Sword gives him +1 attacks, so that's 9 attacks. Charging gives him 10, and then if it's Savage Echoes, he gives 11. And then he can use his Death Vision to reroll hits, and +1 for every 5 models around him. So like even on turn 1, this guy can have 10 attacks, and they're like strength 5 with +1 to wound. So he's an infantry demolisher, and he can pre-game move as well, 12 inches, and then move 14. So basically, if you go first, this guy can move 26 inches, and then like we talk about infiltrators being really good and screening out big wads of the board. If I was playing against Iron Hands and I had this Death Company Captain on the bike, and I've run this character before, if I went first, I would literally move him 26 inches forward and just YOLO him into a squad of infiltrators. Because I feel like if you get the infiltrators out of their backfield, you just open up the whole backfield for whatever you want to do. And 115. Yes, infiltrators are only 100 points, so technically you'd be down 15 points. But I think that would be a trade that you would take all day as a Blood Angel, because now deep striking is so much easier, redeploy is so much easier, and you've got the +2 to charge from the previous chaplain. So getting rid of infiltrators like that could be a very cool idea. Okay, you've got Librarian Dreadnought. Quicking! Huge wings. Again, you haven't picked the best power. Unleash Rage is the best power in the Blood Angels book. You've made him the Chief Librarian. It's important to note the other best thing about the Librarian is giving him Psychic Mastery, which he doesn't have, but I guess that's fine. I guess we can just live without it. And then you've got the Sanguinary Priest, who is the Chief Apothecary, etc., etc. You got one squad of infiltrators with the Helix Gauntlet. You get a strange sized Death Company. What is this size? 2, 4, 6. A 9-man Death Company with all sorts of weird weapon options. I'm being very judgy, I guess. I think you should just have the Death Company with 4 or 5 Thunderhammers. You don't need to have a mix of plasmas and fists and swords and all that. Having them so all over the place like that, it's going to be really difficult to calculate on the fly how much damage they do, right? And that's one advantage of like if you've got 4 Thunderhammers, you just know, hey, it's 20 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 2s. You can very quickly go, well, hitting on 4s with 20 is 10, wounding on 2s is most of them, so maybe like 8. So you can very quickly do the math in your head and work out, like, if I charge this unit, will I do enough damage to it to kill it, or will I do enough damage to, like, get it profiled or whatever. Cool. When you're like, alright, I get 2 Thunderhammers, and then I've got to work out 2 swords and 3 axes and 2 fists, and then it's like, oh my god, I have no idea how much damage this unit will do. So I'm just going to charge it and guess, I guess. Yeah, it's the models they own, sure. So my thought for you is, and I have a lot of models like this, don't get me wrong. As a new player or a new collector, you have models that have random weapon options, and like I said, I had like Sanguinary Guard with plasma pistols and power fists and shit that I would never use. But at some point, you're going to replace them, and I guess when you replace them, just replace them with what's meta. And I guess what's meta is Infernal Pistols and Power Swords or Thunderhammers. We've got a Redemptor with double Onslaught Cannon. And I generally don't like the big Onslaught Cannon on this guy. I think you're just better having the Plasma. It's got more range. I think it's more versatile. Yes, it can be a bit swingy with the D6 shots, but I think sometimes you want to shoot against enemy armor or something. I feel like Onslaught Gatling Cannon does no damage whatsoever against enemy armor, right? We got Sanguinary Ancient. I think the only reason to take the Ancient is to have the Wrath of Baal to get you the +2 to move. I mean, I guess you get +1 to hit, which is okay, but I think the main reason to take the Ancient is to have the additional movement. If you're not going to take the additional movement, then I don't think the Ancient is worth taking. At 110 points, I would just, like, that's basically 4 more Sanguinary Guard. I would just find 10 points and run 4 extra Sanguinary Guards, and I run an Ancient with no Wrath of Baal. Because, I mean, he gets the exact same amount of attacks as a Sanguinary Guard. He gets like 1 more wound, maybe 2. Yeah. The Ancient, another option you can do is Rites of War on the Ancient, because again, it's a fast moving, jumping around character with Rites of War. I like that as well. I notice as well, I suppose you don't have Rites of War. If you're trying to win events, I guess, like, you need to, like, there was a long time I never took Rites of War, and then I started taking it and started realizing just how strong it is. You need to practice some games with Rites of War. If you have a durable character that can carry Rites of War, and you have a couple here, right? Like a Librarian Dreadnought's reasonably durable, a Death Company Captain on a bike is reasonably durable. If you have Rites of War, it will open up a lot of extra plays, or it will score you a lot of extra points on primaries. You know, I lost this week against Iron Hands, but like my primary game was on point. Like I had 44 points on the primary in turn 4 or something, right? So it's like scoring your primaries well wins games. You then have a 9-man squad of Sangard, and I feel like I'd never run Sangard in 9-man. you make them vulnerable to morale, you make them vulnerable to blast, and you don't necessarily need 9. Most of the time, like 6 or 7 Sanguinary Guard should more than enough kill whoever you're charging, assuming you've got like Assault Doctrine, Chapter Master rerolls or something like that, maybe even Quake Bolts. Or in this list, I guess they could get the +1 for the banner. I don't think you need the squads of 9. You got 2 little squads of Vanguard Vets with Storm Shields and some Power Axes, some Lightning Claws, a Relic Blade. Cool. We don't see too many Vanguard Veterans, but I do like them. I think they're cool. You got a Venerable Dreadnought with the Combat Weapon and Heavy Flamer. I assume it's a multi-melta on here. And then 2 Land Speeders with multi-melta. Forgot to leave a little greeting in my summary. I want to run the Death Company with a Captain and the 9 dropping in with the Chaplain, kind of in the air for secondaries. The Redemptor is a sub for the Brutalis. Fingers crossed the points are the same. I see, so you want to actually run a Brutalis Dreadnought. Okay. Well, you'll be able to do that in about a week, I guess. See, I prefer starting the Death Company on the board and doing a Forlorn Fury than dropping them in. I get dropping in something is fine. So my initial thoughts are there's a lot of optimization that can be done both in the Sanguinary Guard and the Death Company squad. And I think Rites of War is probably the thing that that screams out to me that you would get the most value from. Hey Felix, how you doing? Good evening. I'd make a 10-man Vanguard Veteran squad, and that's the unit to buff. Yeah, I mean, if you made the Vanguard Veteran squad 10, then technically you could almost like trim like 2 models off this Death Company and make it more like a more Thunderhammer squad. You could trim like 2 or 3 models off the Sanguinary Guard and maybe even lose the Ancient if you're not going to run the Wrath of Baal and have like a whole other Death Company squad with hammers or something like that. Or a durable squad, let's say Terminators with Storm Shields or Blade Guards with Storm Shields, and I think that's probably what I would do. It's another 5 character list, and you've spent a lot on characters here, right? Because like Librarian Dreads are really expensive characters, so you're like 320 here plus 230, so it's 550. Yeah, like you're 660, which I think might be the highest character spend yet. You can win games spending that much. You can win them, but I used to say like 400 points is probably the most I'd want to spend on characters. I mean, you can. I think my current list maybe has 500 in it, but I feel like 660 is pushing that one step too far. 2 little 5-man Vanguard veterans and like a large Death Company like this and a large Sanguinary Guard. You're gonna. I've played events before where I had 1 squad of Sanguinary Guard, like a 9-man squad, and pretty much after that event, I then changed and moved to like multiple squads of smaller. Like I think I did 3 squads of 6 for a while, and definitely did some events where I did like 2 squads of 7. It's hard to not win all those characters. It is, but it's also detrimental to have that many characters, I guess. Like you do lose something for having that many. Excuse me, it's late. I didn't get enough sleep last night. Daughter woke up at like 5 a.m. and multiple times, I think. You'll feel like if you're playing the game, you'll feel there's so much pressure on that 9-man squad of Sanguinary Guard to perform. And I've been there in an event where it was like, I really need the squad of Sanguinary Guard to perform because they're my only squad. And then what inevitably happens is the enemy maybe manages to get in or pick them off or they fail their charge. And then you're like really, really struggling. So these 2 big squads, I think this was 9, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, you've got 9 Death Company, 9 Sanguinary Guard. I'd re-optimize that into 3 squads, however you like. But I definitely change that. I definitely consider like Rites of War. And I'd probably definitely consider losing one of these characters or making something cheaper. And also Unleash, if you're going to run the librarian, you need Unleash Rage. If you, Gitley says if you take 5 characters, you're inviting your opponent to take Assassinate. Yeah, 100% as well. And if you do have any Sangreguard with Infernal Pistols, or Death Company with Infernal Pistols, you should get them in as well. We are a trading army, so we really need minimum size units. We need to attack in waves. Couldn't agree more, Gitley. Jack spent 2 CP for the privilege of 4 characters and 1 LVO. Yeah, 4 is okay. And in the Arcs of Omen Detachment, you can take 4, but 5 is too many. I generally dislike picking secondaries that let the opponent score 15 points against you just by playing the game, right? Just by playing, just by killing things, you give up all those points. So that is the end of the lists that we had this week. We're doing, I think that was 6 lists. I think we're doing 6 lists every week. I've got a bit of a bonus list though this week. And I think we've got the 6 lists for next week. I'll just tell you who's up next week before we go on. So next week we have Chronosing, DTM, Felix, Inks, It's Magic, and Jim Carroll. And then the week after that, I just have 2 lists at the moment. There has been a couple of submissions. We've got Dutster, Not Enough, Odin, Son. So I guess if you submit a list today, there's a chance you will get seen on the show on the 5th of March. If you leave it much, you know what, I might not even be doing the show on the 5th of March, actually. Depends on how knackered I am from my GT, I suppose. So if you submit a list today, well, next week's show's already busy. You might get seen on the 12th, you might get seen on the 5th. If you need feedback quicker than that, then I guess you can become a channel member and you can message me over on Discord and I can help you out. I think the last bit of advice I want to give is there's a few lists tonight where I think it's really important if you're going to a tournament to think about your secondaries before you go to the event. Because when you get to the event and you start seeing like one second, I think my daughter might be up. Oh, maybe she's not. When you get to the event and pressure's on and you just start picking secondaries and shit like that, I feel like it's generally difficult. So you should have an idea in your head, like maybe I should say this like going forward, like what's like is the list that you've built going to be good at scoring any secondaries? If so, which ones, right? Mark says he might tune in for DTM's list. DTM, are you actually playing Blood Angels now? Send me a new list then, DTM, and I'll have a look at it. Send me a new list this week and I'll just update your position in the queue. DTM actually sent me this last night, so he's been helping me with my list, my Roboto Gilliman list. And I'm going to play Roboto Gilliman on Wednesday night. Let me see what you said. 300 points, Roboto Gilliman. 40 points for 5 Voidsmen and the dog thing. The dog is just like a mortal wound or something. I forget the rule of the dog. I've never used it. I've played my Voidsman like 20 times in games. I've never used the dog. I don't have a model for the dog, so I guess I'm not using it. But I guess the dog is free now? What does the dog even do? I think it does 1 mortal if they get charged. I mean, I'll remember that. But, I mean, the Voidsmen, they just die when they get charged anyway, right? Oh, and the dog has... Oh, you can pay points for the dog. Oh, well, I'm not paying the points for the dog, for sure. Interesting. Okay, I'm not paying the points for the dog, I guess. The dog is free now? Oh, it doesn't look like it's free on Battlescribe. as far as I'm aware, there's no pros to having a 6-man unit of the Voidsmen, right? Because they're a troop unit, so they perform Nachman data on guaranteed if you use them for that. Chapter Master with a Combi Melta, Thunderhammer, Gift of Foresight, and Quake Bolts. I like that. 2 Infiltrators with Helix Gauntlets. I like that as well. It screens so much to the backfield. You actually thought 3 Assault Centurions with Hurricane Bolters and Meltas? Okay, interesting. 2 Death Company with the Thunderhammers and 1 with the Power Sword Infernal. 5 Sangry Guard with 5 Infernals. 1 Terminator Squad with 3 Hammers and Twin Lightning Claw. You've got another 5-man Death Company with Hand Flamers and Power Swords. I mean, I don't have 5 with Hand Flamers. I'd have 5 with Infernal Pistols. You thought a Chapter Champion with Icon of the Angel and Rites of War. You've said a Whirlwind. And then you've said the Tarax with 2 Heavy Flamers. I guess the guns on the Tarax cost some points, don't they? This was to remove the Baal Predators and include a Tarax and a Whirlwind, because people were saying that was silly not taking a Whirlwind, right? Anyone buying the new Dread and Heavy Support stuff next weekend? Yeah, probably. I feel like there's a very high chance I'm buying it. Does anyone know what it's going to cost? I'm guessing like $100, right? Does anyone know the UK price of the new box? I was going to say, I don't know if I even want the missile troops. But then I'm not running Redemptors right now because I think the biggest weakness Redemptors have is that they have no invulnerable save. Balrak said he'd be coming out with a video tomorrow on the cost. Okay. So how is this different from my list? I had two assault squads of Terminators. Probably 100, 110 from Element. That's kind of what I was thinking. It would be 100, 110. I've already got heavy intercessors, and I really hate how they keep bringing out lieutenants, man. I don't need any more damn Primaris lieutenants. I probably didn't need any more Primaris lieutenants for years at this point. So we lose the Blade Guard, we lose the Impulsor, we lose the 2 Baal Predators. I need to write this down. So what do we lose? 5. We lose 5 Blade Guard Vets, 2 Baals, the Impulsor, and 1 squad of Terminators. Right? And what we gain is 5 Death Company with, I guess, like in my case, I'll just use the models that I have. Again, 5 Death Company with Inferno / Power Swords, Terax, Whirlwind, Company Champion. Has he got Rites of War? He's Icon of the Angel and Rites of War. And Centurions. We added Centurions. Is that right? So Blade Guard Veterans would be 175, 2 Baals would be 220, and Impulsor would be 100. Terminators would be 165. So 320 plus, I guess 170 twice, 640. Centurions are 180. Chapter Champion is 60. That's 240. Whirlwind is 125. So it's 365. Death Company 465. Terax 180. 465 plus 180. 465. 665. 654. Okay, interesting. I think the list you sent me had 2 Baals, 2 Terminator squads, a Blade Guard, and the Impulsor. Include the Tarax, including the Tarax and the Whirlwind, I think were the things that I felt like. If I don't have the Whirlwind, it means that if I can't deny Overwatch, then like last week against Iron Hands, I charged as Devastator squad with the squad of Blade Guard, and I think I lost. Was it 3 Blade Guard veterans to the Overwatch from the Devastator squad of the Iron Hands? So paying 1 CP and having a Whirlwind there to prevent that is pretty fucking useful, right? I need some Firstborn to go inside the Terrax. There's no limit on that, right? It can just put one company champion inside it, though. Like, it can just be one model in the Terrax. You don't... Dedicated transports, there's no minimum number of models. There just has to be something there to go inside, right? I don't really run dedicated transports. And the Turks is 180 in the... So it was like... Anyone got smart opinions? I feel like I want to run the Terrax and the Whirlwind. And I think probably that means... Drop the Impulsor. Plus... something else. Because, like... The Terrax and the Whirlwind is, like... 305 points. And the Impulsor is 100. It could just be the champion, it's his personal car. I just like... Well, I've just bought the Terrax. So it seems like... I've been wanting to run one for a while. I mean... I feel like with a 7-inch reroll charge, it'd just be devastating with Blood Angels, right? The drill is... Strength 14, minus 4... D3 plus 3, but if it's enemy vehicles, it becomes D3 plus 6. So this is, I mean, that's why you'd want, that's why you want to be able to deny Overwatch, right? Because, like, you could literally charge this into anything in the Iron Hands list and just instantly delete it. You can't because it isn't core. But because I'm running Gilliman, I get to reroll 1s on the drill, and I'm running Quake Bolts as well, so I can have the drill hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. It's going to wound everything in the game on 2s because it's strength 14 with +1 to wound. What do you have that can ride inside the Terrax? All sorts of shit, I guess. Like, we could ride some... I could ride a Sternguard squad in there, like a 100-point Sternguard squad. That's like 2 multi-meltas, 3 combi meltas, and like a guy with a combi melta / Thunderhammer, I think would be valid now on Sternguard. I could also run like some company veterans. But to do that, to run an elite squad, then I have to lose one of these 2 elites, right? Because I'm at 6 elites in this list at the moment, right? My 6 elites are Blade Guard, Death Company ×2, Sanguinary Guard, Terminators ×2. So it'd have to lose. It'd have to lose something. But I did think that the Whirlwind. I did feel like I was missing a Whirlwind, and I think having a Terrax could be scary for people. Because here's the thing, right? The Impulsor does one job, I suppose, right? The Impulsor, in turn 1, it just moves forward 14 inches and sits on an objective. It's kind of 50-50 if it dies. In most cases, I would actually say it's a bit higher than 50-50. Like 75% of the time it dies, and then we spill the units out of it. Sometimes the units coming out are fine. Sometimes they die. My experience tells me that usually you lose the Impulsor in turn 1. Usually you roll a 1 for the disembarkation. So usually you lose the Impulsor plus 1 guy. On a good day, you don't lose anyone. On a bad day, you lose 2 guys. The Whirlwind is bad in Arts of Omen. The Whirlwind isn't a damaging unit, Mike. If you look at it as a damaging unit, then you're always going to think it's bad. You have to look at the Whirlwind for suppression fire. That's literally the only reason to take it. Hey, Lucas, good evening. So you want to take it purely for suppression fire, and there's definitely games in probably every event I go to that suppression fire is like Rights of War. It will win you games. It sucks that the Whirlwind didn't come down in points. It should have, considering it does no damage, and it lost survivability with the Armor of Contempt changes. But Suppression Fire is just too good. In this list that I've got loads of points for Suppression Fire. That's not a problem. You know, if we're losing the Blade Guard veterans and the Impulsor, then surely the Primaris Apothecary is on the cutting board as well. And he's 70 points. But he had Rights of War, so if we remove him, we need to bring something else that has Rights of War. Yeah, the Whirlwind hasn't done damage like for the last year at this point. Take a Landspeeder Storm. It's but I mean the Landspeeder Storm is preventing Overwatch. The Whirlwind is also doing Fight Last, which in some cases, I'd say that's probably. I think the Overwatch denial is situational. The Fight Last is huge. Primaris Sanguinary Priest could be interesting. Yeah, maybe we'll eventually get that, right? I'm morally opposed to running an apothecary when we have a Sanguinary Priest. I get that, but I mean, I do have 9 CP in this list, so I was just going to play. I was just going to pay the 2 CP for whatever the hell it's called. I forget. The one that puts you in all 3 doctrines. Tactical. I don't remember what it's called. It's a Space Marine one. I'd argue that -1 fight is better in the current meta. I mean, it's not if you're being charged. Not if you know the enemy's going to charge you next turn, right? The Priest is insanely expensive, yeah. The Whirlwind also lets you fight indiscriminately at times, which is huge, I think, as well. Yeah, I think I'm going to put the Whirlwind back in the list. I mean, in turn 1 and turn 2 Gitli, I generally only use 1 unit to fight with. I'm just going to use the 1 unit of Death Company to fight in turn 1. Most of the time, I'm just waiting for turn 3 when I can make all my charges, I guess. Alright, well, that's my dilemma. I guess tune in on Wednesday night. And we'll see what we've coming up. We're playing World Eaters, so we're going to be playing against Angron and his nasty, fast boys. Making some of them fight last will probably be pretty useful as well. I think he's running multiple squads of 8-bound. I've seen the profiles for those 8-bound. They look nasty as all hell. So, okay, that's where we stand. If I can't figure out a good combo with this, I guess I'll just go back to the double Ball Predator list. The double Ball Predator list was fine. Just not having Overwatch / Fight Last sucked. I mean, in simplest form, you could possibly like just lose one of the Terminator squads for the Whirlwind, and then put Voidsman at Arms in there or something. I mean, if I tend to disagree, Mike. Right? Like, if Angron is going to charge you, you would rather he was -1 to hit than he was fight last. Yeah, I don't know. I think I've played enough games where my Whirlwind's been my MVP. Uh, and it's usually the fight last that it comes into, because when you hit the unit with fight last, they can't counter offensive on it. So if you make 2 charges into really nasty targets, and you know that either of those ones are going to interrupt and kill a lot of your guys, then you just make one of them fight last from the Whirlwind. You fight with the other one first, and then you fight on the second one, and like that's the most amazing play. Yeah, I don't know. Some people swear by the storm. I mean, Overwatch Nile is useful, but I think the stronger part of it is the fight last. I miss Fury the Lost. That was the. And you know, I think every single tournament I've been to in ninth, I ran the Whirlwind. So it would be strange to suddenly go to a tournament without it. And I very rarely come out of tournaments thinking the Whirlwind was the problem with my list. It very rarely is a problem. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll figure out my interesting list for this event. Appreciate the comments, DTM. I definitely do. I'll come up with something. I'll maybe hit you back up. I hope you guys all have a nice weekend. Judgment tokens are indeed brutal. 125 points for 2 damage. I mean, I'm not trying to do any damage with the Whirlwind, right? Like, I almost don't even care about any of the wound rolls. I'm just rolling for the fight last. Yeah, we'll be back live on Wednesday. I might have another video coming out earlier this week. We'll see how much time I get tomorrow night for editing. Norse and Woman, I like the Impulsor play, Highland Phoenix says. I did as well, Highland, but it dies. It seems to die all the time. I mean, I think it might be better to just hug people in the back foot with a Terax coming in turn 2 or something, right? I don't know. I guess I'll probably get 1 game with the Terax and the Whirlwind, and then it'll be time to submit my tournament list. So I was also really thinking, like, a lot of people were saying, like, Vanguard veterans with Storm Shields. Will I rate a Black Templars list? I could, but I'm no expert with Black Templars. Really no expert. But if you want to send it to me, or I mean, Nate, you're a channel member. Come over onto Discord and come into the members only room. We can talk about it there for sure. Alright, enjoy your weekend, guys. I'll see you guys at some point this week. I'm sure there'll be content coming out as always. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys then. I just think a Tarax with a 7-inch charge could be really fun. Island. And it will get to reroll its ones, because it's got 5 meltas as well, right? Terax? Yeah, I mean, it's got 5 meltas. So you get to shoot 5 meltas, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. That's some Iron Hand shit right there. Then you get to make a 7-inch charge, and then you're 4 attacks, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s, and each attack can do 9 damage. It is T8, so I mean, it's an ultimate distraction Carnifex, right? We'll see. We'll see. Alright, enjoy your weekend, guys. I'll speak to you soon. Peace.